And before we really start, a quick information. We are recording this info event, but only the presentation and the Q&A with Florian, and not the Q&A with everybody afterwards. So don't worry, you will not be recorded asking any question. And I think that's it in terms of upfront information. Ina, did I forget anything?
No, all good.
Okay, then I will share the presentation and we go right into it. Good, so again, welcome and let's jump into it. In terms of the agenda, I already mentioned it. I'll give an upfront presentation and then we have the exchange with Florian and then comes Q&A. That was too quick. First of all, I'd like to state and mention that we are part of a European program that has nothing to do with the European Union, but with ESA, the European Space Agency. And these two are two different entities. And Switzerland is part of ESA, but not of the EU. And we see our colleagues from the other BICs regularly twice per year. Again, a bit more physically these days as well, which is great. And startups can also benefit from the network the other BICs in the other countries have. Switzerland came rather late. We started early 2017 with the first startups, but we have a good name all over Europe. Quickly, snapshot about the program. So it's a Swiss-wide program from startups anywhere located in Switzerland. But what you have to have is your headquarters and the people in Switzerland. So just kind of a subsidiary from a startup located in another European country is not sufficient. Secondly, you need to be less than 5 years old. And the third criteria is you need to have a space connection, and we'll talk about that later. In the program, startups are for a duration of 2 years. We can recruit up to 10 new startups per year. We have selection rounds twice per year. So the next deadline is end of October this year. And the selection will happen in November. And right after the jury session, it is communicated who is selected. And in the program, very briefly, there's 200,000 euro non-dilutive funding across the 2 years linked to milestones. So it's not 200K upfront, but 200,000 across the 2 years. Money is important for startups, we know, but there's other benefits for the startups. There's business and technical support. We'll talk about this later as well. And there are 6 community events happening online and offline. By now we have a mixture of that at impact hubs across Switzerland, usually between Lausanne, Bern, and Zurich. And now we have a little video for you about the space connection, which should already clarify some questions.
Space is open for business. Why not explore your space connection? For entrepreneurs and startups, the possibilities are endless. You can apply technologies from space here on Earth. Today, the solar cells used in satellites in space are being used to build highly efficient solar panels for use on Earth. You could adapt technologies from Earth for use in space. One startup is reinventing their cybersecurity solution from the financial sector to protect communication via satellites. Or you could contribute to a whole world of space data applications. One successful solution uses satellite imagery to help farmers deliver the perfect amount of fertilizer with pinpoint accuracy. Even if you haven't considered space as yet, you can benefit. Whether it's from Earth to space or from space to Earth, we're here to get your ideas off the ground. So, what's your space connection?
So that's the first part about the space connection. We have a little more information about that. So in the video, we mainly talk about from Earth to space and from space to Earth, what you see at the bottom. In addition to that, obviously, we also have startups in the program that are purely for space, one alumni and one currently in the program. And the video also talks about space data, using telecom data for space, Earth observation data from space, etc., for some application on Earth. So that's the four key categories. Something interesting to mention, in Switzerland, we have a lot from Earth to space, around 50% across the portfolio, including alumni. Whereas for the other bigs across Europe, it's around 10–11%. And that's obviously thanks to great technology that is developed in universities in Switzerland. And a little more about this space connection. So that can go in very different directions. For space exploration or cleaning, you might have heard of ClearSpace. They started the company only after being accepted to ESA BIC Switzerland. So we helped them a bit in the beginning. Sensing in space and on Earth, we have various startups there. Telecommunication, security, then also space infrastructure, all kinds of satellite components, very strong in Switzerland, photonics, for example. Materials and processes, so we have various material startups in the program, and all sorts of space data applications, which we received a bit more applications over the last year. So I hope that gave some intro into this space connection, and you're very welcome to ask more questions in the Q&A at the end. So the portfolio these days, we are supporting 19 startups across Switzerland. You see, we're quite proud that we have again a startup supported in Lugano, another one in Geneva, it's the first one, and then we even have one in the Jura, in Delemont, and Florian is actually located next to the PSI, Paul Scherrer Institute in the canton of Aargau. Obviously, and not surprisingly, the majority of startups are somehow linked to EPFL in Lausanne and ETH in Zurich, where you see the big bubbles. So the ones in white are currently supported, and in gray at the box at the bottom, it's the ever-growing number of alumni. Now, quickly about the process. For the application, you find the information on our website. And the first thing that we ask you is to fill out a very simple 2-pager form, which has the key 4 or 5 questions that are important for the selection. And we did that because the full application are mainly ESA documents that are a bit heavy. And we want to prevent that you as startups, entrepreneurs, and us as the program read too many applications which don't make too much sense. And usually after the 2-pager, you enter then in a dialogue and discussion with people of our team, be it on the technical or business side. And as I said, the next deadline is end of October, and then the selection will happen in November. And then the program is 24 months long, and there's one important assessment, which we call midterm. It's not exactly after 1 year, but it's after 4 or 5 months, where the startup needs to prove it's really the right program, if they make progress, etc. And there's another assessment after that. And all along, you get technical business support and benefit from the community events. So in terms of the results to date, overall, via the program and these 200,000 per startup, we paid out over 8 million already. So if you multiply the 200,000 with the startups, but remember, again, they are not paid at the very beginning, but all along the 2 years. What is great is that startups raised from all sorts of sources, a lot of third-party money, over 250 million. This does include an 80-something million contract that ClearSpace got with ESA, but still there's very nice financing rounds from others. And obviously, startups supported from all over the country. And what is particularly important to me, we have at least 15 startups that have over $1 million of revenues by now, which is the most important because we want to help startups to grow into businesses and make money, revenues, and profitability. Now, coming to the benefits of the program, one key benefit, often even mentioned before the funding, is the partner network that you see here. Now, I want to mention this is not logo dropping. We do have contracts with all these partners, be it from industry, academia, and other, and they support financially the program a little bit, but they, more importantly even, is they support the program with in-kind support. And there you can get access to specific test facilities, specific expertise, etc. And startups benefit greatly from that. In addition to that, we do have an investor network and other support providers that you also find on the webpage. And in addition, mentioning about the partners, all the team of ESA BIC comes from industry, and we have networks that go beyond what you see here. And depending on the expertise needed, the contacts needed, we also play our other contacts and network beyond this. Now, technical and business support, I don't want to go too much into detail, but we have the startups assigned to key account managers. For example, for Florian, it's me. And XR Nanotech, and we, in terms of business support, it's the key accounts dealing with that. Our technical and space expert, who's on vacation today and cannot be with us, it's Michael. He deals with all the technical and space support. And then we provide support on an individual level for startups, also with the service providers, and also on a community level. So on the community level, you see some example here of, I think it was a branding workshop, Ina, right? That we did. These happen every second month. They are actually mandatory for the reason that other ESA BICs in other countries are more of physical incubators. And we said for Switzerland, if you want one ESA BIC, that doesn't make sense. And the compromise we struck with ESA is that we do community events. And we realized that with our community events, we have the feeling that our startups have even more interaction and contact than what some other colleagues from other countries explained to us. And we always ask for the input from startups, what kind of topics we should plan for the next year. Obviously, there's typical topics like fundraising, HR, etc. But we also insert other topics. We'll probably, we plan to do, for example, a negotiation workshop at the end of the year. And our partners come into play, but also alumni, which are very much appreciated. We just had one of these last week. With our summer party, and it was peer exchange, actually purely amongst the startups. It's always much appreciated as well in small groups on topics. And we're coming to almost to the end. Another benefit of the program is exposure and support to international events, particularly related to space somehow or to startups. So on the left, you see pictures from Slush in Finland. And our colleagues from the ESA BIC in Finland usually do a very, very nice booth. And we're going there again this year with a few startups where it's relevant. And space example at the bottom right, you see a picture of our colleague Michael, technical and space lead at the International Astronautical Congress in Dubai last year, where we were also present. And even Florian was there himself. So he might talk about it later. And yeah, here are some quotes from alumni by now. It's really different, the benefits that the different startups perceive. For example, for Compare, it brought a lot of structure to the company in terms of reporting processes, etc., that they also use for their board meetings still. So they copied a lot from the program for their board meetings. Why not? They had other benefits as well, but that is something that Complement highlighted. Yeah, Luc is very proud of having been to ESA BIC, and John said, yeah, it opened a lot of other doors and gave credibility for his startup. It was before called a different name, now it's Enlitra. And here we come to the end, the operational setup. You see the team at ETH at the bottom left, at the top left, with Christoph, Ina, and Michael on vacation. For community management, we get support from the Impact Hub. Merle is the community manager. At the bottom right, you have another space guru, Jose Ashash. You might have heard of him. He's a former director of ESA and has usually very good ideas, connections, network that he can also play for the startups in the program. And Philip from Venture Lab is part of the program as well. We have a contract with them, and it's a very nice collaboration already since 5 years. And I think now it's about time for Florian. Huh? Florian, you're still awake? It's about a bit hot today, I know. Huh? I have 30-something degrees in my office.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So Florian, we said we are going to do a bit more of a dialogue, right?
Sure.
So Florian, you're doing something very specific. Can you very simply, briefly explain what EXA Nanotech has on offer?
Absolutely. So, I mean, as the name already suggests, EXA Nanotech is a nanotechnology company. And what we do is we develop innovative optical elements that enable ultra high resolution in these optics and also outstanding efficiency by applying state-of-the-art nanotechnology. So our idea is to replace bulky glass lenses that you typically know as optics with flat, lightweight, and better optical elements that are based on nanotechnology.
Right, and there's pictures obviously that we can see here about your optics in very nice geometries.
Yes.
And Florian, what is the connection to space? Can you elaborate a bit on that?
So, as you already mentioned, Nanya, beforehand, several companies in the ESA BIC, they have an application that was formed on Earth, basically, and then they bring that to space with ESA BIC. And for us, it's more or less the same. So we come from optics on Earth, and we didn't have the idea of going to space with that before we met you, basically. But optics are everywhere. And in space, you need the best optics you can get in order to look down on Earth, for Earth observation, for imaging and spectroscopy. You had some examples of that in your presentation, but also you need optics to look deep into space to see distant objects, galaxies, stars. And when you shoot up a rocket and spend a lot of money in order to bring things to the space, then you want to have the best optical elements there as well.
Great. And Florian, do you already have some kind of application? There was some contract, right, for one mission?
Yeah, so we had actually at the moment 2 different applications that we are pursuing, and I put just 2 images of that onto that slide. So one is in the field of astrophysics, where there is a huge mission planned in, I think, 2030 something. That's the Athena mission, where they built a big X-ray telescope for really space science and astrophysics, where we got involved and where we do some part of the X-ray analyzer unit. And on the other hand, something completely different, that's in the field of optical communications. So telecommunications in space with lasers is a huge trending topic, and that's a growing market. And also there, you need very good optics to have high bandwidth, and you can shoot your lasers around the globe on satellites.
Great. Yeah, and I remember now the Athena mission it was. And you got into that, I think, in the first couple of months in the program, right? That was quite surprising. They must have been so desperate for your solution that they directly signed a contract, right?
And it was cool because it was all coming to us via ESA BIC. So I think that time it was Jose Ashash who made the connection, and he connected us with the Italian space organization and say, wow, we were looking for such a kind of solution for a long time. Can you do a prototype? And we started doing a prototype, and then they did all these shaking tests and vacuum tests and all of these things. And luckily it survived. So we were also, the first time we dealt with these space testing beforehand. So it was a really new experience for us, but it widened our network, our scope, and was really cool.
Good, enough on that one. So Florian, what are your kind of the key benefits of the program that you perceive and experience of ESA BIC Switzerland?
Good question. There are too many. I would say first, ESA BIC opens the door to the space sector. So as you already showed, you have this huge partner wheel, which is a true asset, because that gives you a network where you can come up with several different points of contact, and they can help you in the technical field with business development. We got help there also in fundraising. Also, we got legal support via ESA BIC. It's something you wouldn't expect when you start with an ESA Business Incubation Center. But I would say that helped us a lot to structure our business, to get on track, and to learn, because as a first-time founder, everything is new. What shall we do? And then you can talk to Nanya, and she says, "Oh, I know somebody who can help you," and that's just amazing.
Okay, other benefits?
Sure. So we really benefited from the community events, because that's also a lot of learning there. You exchange with like-minded people who face the same challenges as you currently have. And you also meet more experienced people, like experts or founders who have solved these challenges already. That was great. And also the events, you can see that here on the slide, for instance. ESA allowed us and invited us to join for several events like the Space Tech Expo or the IAC. And that's where you meet potential customers, that's where you meet partners, that's where you meet suppliers, and where you also learn a lot about the space sector. When you come from a Earth-based application first and you want to get in that business, then you have to learn a lot, and that's where you get input from ESA BIC.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, Florian, because his colleague on the right with the white shirt is also called Florian. My loyal ones, when we do online aperos during Corona times, at the community event, usually we did an online apero, so everybody gets a drink, whatever they like, and then we have just informal, nice chats. And Florian usually stay until the end, huh?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's a good way of connecting and of learning some things. And you can always expect honest feedback from Nanya. If you have a question and get to her, she reads all your reports and she tries to help you. So it's a great program. And at that stage, I can just say thank you very much for being in that program.
Yeah, we're also very proud and happy to have you and support your great journey a little bit. Good. But I think, Florian, is there something you want to mention we didn't address yet?
I think we addressed most points, but I can just encourage everyone to hand in an application. So go for it. It's really amazing.
Okay, enough advertising, Florian. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Good. Then we come already to the end, and we open to the floor for anyone to ask any question, and Ina stops the recording.